welcome to the Psychic Wave Podcast. I'm your host, Andrew Sanishin, and on this episode, we had Talon. Talon is the creator, mastermind behind Newton's Darkroom, which is a podcast that is so damn crazy. It's hard for me to even explain, and Talon does it much better than I ever could in the podcast, so I'll let him explain that to you. But man, it's so much more than just two people having a conversation, which is what my podcast is, and his is just insane. It's insane. He creates a whole world and dives into your ears, and man, it's insane. So that was really cool talking to him. He is an energetic, inspired young kid that's just doing so much shit. Good shit, not shit. He he's just creating things everywhere he goes, and it's crazy to me because I wish I had that sort of drive. But man, looking at Talon, this dude's on another level. Like he I don't think will ever stop creating stuff, and it's inspiring for me to see somebody like that, and for him to be only 20 and just have so much like crazy ideas stored in his head. It's fucking awesome. So I really enjoyed this conversation. It's about 2:48 on a Sunday afternoon. Yesterday I went on a fucking boat. I went on a boat and went around Newport Harbor. I don't know what the fuck you would call that. But yeah, I kind of fucked up because it was a 3-hour boat ride, and I knew that, and it was just like 6 other people on the boat. It wasn't like guided, there was just family, and I drank 4 or 5 beers in the first maybe hour, and I didn't think about it, but I should have paced it because I had to pee so fucking badly, like an hour and 30 minutes in to the boat ride, and we weren't going to be back for another hour and a half anyway. So I had to hold it, and oh man, I've never had to hold my pee so, like, I thought I was going to pee my pants. I for sure thought I was going to pee my pants. And when I got back to the dock, I said, fuck everyone, and I just ran to the bathroom. And, man, I did not run. I had to walk, but I had to pee so badly that it hurt to walk. Like, I could feel my organs being pushed against, and it fucking stung. It, like, actually hurt. And if you're asking yourself why I didn't just jump in and pee in the water, there was like a huge deposit that we would have lost if somebody like saw, and I don't know, I just didn't want to do that to everybody. And it was my own fault anyway. I shouldn't have drank all that so fast. I should have paced it like everybody else. And, just more of the bad decisions that I've been making in my life for your entertainment. No, but man, that was an event. It was a cool day though. There was a fire over there in Laguna Niguel. You don't need to know this. Why am I telling you this? I don't know. Anyway, I've got a bunch of stuff that I need to do today as well, like relax and not fill myself with alcohol. That's my Sunday goal usually, is, hey, maybe take it easy 1 day out of 7. I think that's a good plan. That'll heal me up, right? I don't know, but it's what I've been doing so far. So I'm going to take it easy. I do have band practice, and I'm actually getting a call right now. So I'm going to let you guys go, and here's the podcast. Thanks. About 10. I don't know.
Yeah.
All right, so this is the 47th episode of the Psychic Wave Podcast. And I am with the creator of Newton's Darkroom.
Yes. Yeah.
Now, Talon?
Talon. Yeah.
Why do I always feel like there's an H in there? What's your well, I could bleep that out if you don't want me.
No, that's fine.
What's your personal Instagram? Is there an H in that one?
I think personal Instagram is the Talon. So, and I think that's with
technically
the 0 is an O.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's an H in there somewhere. So
I'm just saving my own ass. That's what I'm doing.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I first heard about you through Nani's podcast.
Yeah.
Nani of the band Bundy podcast. And man, that was one of them where I was like, wait, what the fuck is this?
Yeah.
What is? It sounded cool, and I was trying to follow along, but I was like, man, there's so much going on here. So if you could explain what Newton's Darkroom is.
Of course. Newton's Darkroom is a fictional artist collective. In reality, it's just me and the stuff that I make, but instead of having, Talon.com, I'm having a much more interesting framework, and basically that serves as a vehicle for all my creative stuff. So, right now it's a lot of focus on music, on podcasts. We're working on written stuff. We're probably going to do some music videos for some of the songs, and that's going to tie into the film stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And all of that is kind of under this vehicle. And then within this vehicle, there's kind of this fictional universe, so it's along the same lines of like the Gorillas or of, even like Steam Powered Giraffe or even the Muppets, if you want to go that far, where it's kind of, there's this art that they're producing and it's good art and standalone art. But then if you kind of look back at kind of this entity creating it, there's kind of a whole nother layer to it all.
Right. Yeah, that's one of the things that really made me get it when I was listening to Nani's podcast.
Yes.
Is when you said it's kind of like Gorillas, if you will, where there is this universe where everything kind of exists.
It's the Gorillas if they made a production company, essentially.
That's super funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, funny in a good way. Not funny in a stupid way.
It's timely too, because they got that new album coming out, so it's
they do
kind of they announced that earlier. It's coming out on the 29th of this month. So
wow,
yeah,
that's
they have
quick.
2 songs released, and I've listened to one of them, and it's good. So
yeah, what do you think about the last album?
I liked Humans. I'm very forgiving with people as they kind of move along and change. I know a lot of people, they like a band and then that band changes their sound and then they hate it, but I love it. I love hearing the inspirations. I feel like Humans, while it might not feel like a traditional Gorillaz album, while I feel like Phase 4 wasn't as like story driven or that kind of thing as some of the past ones.
That's how I felt. It was like,
yeah,
it definitely was Gorillaz, and I like when bands or musicians change.
Yeah,
I like that growth for sure. I'm forgiving with that too, but it just felt more of like a Damon Albarn solo album with a bunch of other people than like, it didn't feel like, to me, I couldn't imagine the Gorillaz, the characters coming into this and like making the album, because that's with all the other albums I can imagine the characters like in their universe creating
I almost feel kind of the opposite of that, where I feel like, well, maybe not the opposite, but I feel like they it felt very much, because they made their 3rd album. It was crazy good. They were out literally at the farthest place from civilization, and then they kind of come back. They're they've always been rock stars. They've always been very kind of showing of that lifestyle, and this was just kind of their musical style living up to it. So the fact that it was this crazy party, that the music videos are all going out there tearing it up, while it might not have had the narrative substance of some of their other phases, I felt like it felt like a natural evolution character wise. And then coming into the now their next album out of that also feels really natural, because now like Murdoch's in jail and 2D is like all in touch with like, he's kind of like this changed person, because he kind of came out of this and he's all like almost like spiritual mystic kind of guy. Like he's the kind of
really I haven't seen
it's good. There was an article, I want to say it was like on like Noisy or something like that, that where they interviewed each of the band members, and it kind of gave you like of the status, and it was good. So I'm looking forward to it, and I think it'll be a nice return to form for fans of the Gorillaz more in the long term. So
I did like Humans. It just didn't stick with me the way the other ones did.
It felt like a good album that if that was someone's debut album, everyone would be losing their minds because of how good it was. But when placed in the context of not only past music but past Gorillaz, then it's kind of like, the phase might have been lackluster for some, but I love it.
Yeah, I mean, it was still really good. And it definitely wasn't like the type of music I was listening to at that time either.
Yeah, that always.
So it makes me kind of biased, but that's the way it goes. So Newton's Darkroom would be a universe, like it has its own universe in a way, and it's basically a production company for music videos, music in general. Yeah, some sort of overarching storyline. Have you had any of that yet?
Well, I think not yet. It's something that I kind of have planned in the back of my head, but it's a little bit more episodic, I think, in nature, because you have these different characters creating these different art kind of things, you know, and that's the podcast that we have up right now. It's on the Newton's Darkroom Presents feed. If you look that up, we have 2 episodes kind of introducing the 2 departments, if you will, that we have opened. And it kind of delves into the backstory of the 2 people heading those departments. So they're kind of standalone, you know, stories. They're kind of like mythological or folklore kind of in feel.
Yeah.
And they kind of tell those things. And then as we go along and more characters are introduced, then we might start to see some things come in. You know, I plan on having, you know, conflicts where people might leave or where things kind of, you know, because I want this to be a dynamic and compelling story within the universe as well. So
that sounds super cool, man.
And there's stuff that's hidden too.
I
with a couple of the albums that I have coming out at the end of the month, there's kind of like beginnings of kind of some things. So I have kind of this secondary story that's written, and then whenever people are kind of able to piece the pieces together, then there's going to be that puzzle that people can add to the whole thing. So
nice.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a super crazy idea, and it seems like a super taxing one. I don't know if I'd have the energy, but I'm glad people like you do.
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting because I'm always wanting to make stuff, right? I mean, I've been making stuff for the past couple of years. I've been in only 3 bands, but I'm also still young and that kind of thing.
Right.
But 3 bands,
dude, you're really young.
One of which recorded and put out an EP. You know, I've done a podcast prior to this that had a writer of like 6 people. We would work with like 20 voice actors every episode, kind of thing. Like,
wow.
Produce an hour of content every month. It was crazy. You know, so I'm always inspired and wanting to.
You like working.
Yeah, I like working. I like creating. I always have ideas.
Yeah.
And one of the most sucky parts about creating is whenever you lose momentum, right? Where you have this thing and you get people and you put in all this work just to get people to listen to the first thing, and then it kind of disappears. So this, I kind of took the fall semester, or this fall was like mostly me kind of, you know, taking a break from creating because I was coming off the heels of that really demanding other podcast. Take a break from creating, kind of ease myself into it and kind of find out where I wanted to go next. And I just had so many ideas, and then I kind of had this idea to kind of push them all together, you know. So now I have this one thing that people can go check out, and that will be there for a long time, so that I'm not losing momentum whenever I shift from music to podcasts.
I think your thing is much more. It seems to be more of a cohesive idea than what. Than the reason why I started Psychic Wave. But like Psychic Wave, I was doing art, and I would just call it Psychic Wave art. I was doing some songs in Psychic Wave, and then I like thought about it, and I was like, oh man, now that it's not that it's somewhere huge right now, but it has more of a solid thing to me now.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh shit, I don't think I can ever kill Psychic Wave.
Yeah.
Because it's a podcast, it's a band, it's art.
And it just becomes so much of your work.
Yeah, it's just the umbrella term for all of my art.
Exactly, yeah.
But so what was like the first creative like venture that you ever did? Like when did you realize you were into all this stuff?
I have been doing performance and art and all that kind of stuff since I was like 4 or 5 years old.
Wow, where was this at?
I mean, this is, you know, little Talon standing on a church play kind of thing, you know, but I've just always been involved in community theater, always, you know, one after another kind of thing. It's just something that I've been a part of my entire life. I think the decision to pursue it more professionally is like, this is something I want to do came after high school. I didn't think that I would go into the arts. I thought I would go into like, I don't know, like criminal. I don't know. I don't even remember what it was.
Yeah.
But then, but then I saw a flyer for the school. They were auditioning for a play, and I was like, no, I have to do this.
Right.
So then I went into college, did a theater film double major. So to kind of cover my bases on that side.
Where was this at?
Orange Coast College.
Orange Coast
and I
College.
just graduated this with a psych and film, or I have psych and theater, and then I have like 2 or 3 more classes for film. So I'll kind of come back. I'm gonna take it easy next year, but so that's whenever I realized I kind of wanted to do this. And then I started, my first band was in junior year of high school. A friend needed a bassist. I was interested in playing bass, but I never played before, so got it and jumped in kind of thing. And then I've been doing music ever since then. And then podcasts, I started listening senior year of high school. And then I didn't start my own until just last year. And then that one's ended. And then now I have the Newton's Darkroom Presents thing going on, and then I'm also currently working on writing like 2 other podcasts, like how it is, it's kind of casually working on them, but one of them more serious than the other.
So. Ideas that are kind of making it to paper and getting more fleshed out.
Right now one of them is like being revised by an editor friend of mine, and then the other is still just working on the first draft. I'm like maybe a third of the way through that.
Right.
So,
I probably have like 4 projects going at a time, and then like one of them maybe makes it, You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
Like
It's all
one of them becomes something that I showcase.
Yeah. And then it's fun too because there's things I'll revisit, right? Because it's like you kind of have that and you'll go looking for inspiration in your next project and you'll find this thing that you're working on long ago and you're like, oh, maybe I can do something with that. And you kind of bring it up and add to it again. So I kind of have my nice little graveyard of ideas that I'm sure will rise from the dead eventually.
I do this thing where I keep a notebook or a journal.
Yeah.
We'll call it a journal. And I write down everything, and I like draw little things, and I come back to it, and sometimes I write on pages before and after, and then when it's all filled up, I start like writing new music again. Yeah. And then I like read my whole journal front to back, and I like circle out things I liked, and then I also like cut out things that were super negative that I should not have said. And it's this like therapy thing for me where it's like, oh, okay, I'm over this. I'm going to cut that nasty part that I wrote out and like, throw it away. Yeah. And then at the end, it's just all these positive ideas in a journal. That's awesome. And then it like makes its way to something. So I definitely understand like picking out from a graveyard, like some ideas. And
it's all just about writing it down and writing it down. You know, because you never know. Like you'll wake up, you'll have a little musical bar in mind. You'll just have this conceptual idea. I remember leaning over to my friend in the middle of Avengers Infinity War because I saw something. I was like, oh no, like so I just leaned up like afterwards, just tell me this. He's like, what? I'm like, just tell me. It was just like one word kind of thing. And then and of course like the act of telling someone to remind you like normally is enough to make it stick for you. So then afterwards he was like this, and I was like, yes, thank you. And then I went home, and then that's the thing that actually is being edited by my friend right now. So that turned into this idea that kind of like rocketed forward rather quickly.
That's awesome. Yeah. I usually like it happens to me when I'm going to bed, and it's more of a fuck. Yeah. Why don't I have any paper? Or I'm just so tired of that point, and I'm like, you know what? If it ends up being something, it ends up being something. Yeah, well, I can't stress myself out before bed. I just don't sleep enough anyway. I just don't sleep.
That's the sucky part, because that's where you get the most inspiration, is right whenever you're going into sleep and right whenever you're coming out of sleep. Because your brain is like, I mean, your brain is literally in that place where it is. I mean, it's the same thing like whenever you're driving, you know, where you're just doing something kind of autonomous, and then your brain just kind of wanders, and then that's where you find the best stuff. So, you know, I recently got a Teenage Engineering OP1 synth. And that thing is super portable. It's just a powerhouse of stuff. And so I literally just have a bag hanging by my bed. And then if I'm ever feeling inspired right before I go to bed, I'm like, okay, I guess I'm staying up for another hour, and I pull it out and I'll kind of plop stuff out. And then
is that the one that looks like a calculator?
That's the one. No, those are their pocket operator ones. This is the one that's kind of like this white keyboard kind of thing. Got it. You know, with like the little LED screen. And all that kind of stuff.
Oh, yeah, those are cool.
Yeah, really cool.
Man, I've always wanted one of those.
Incredible, because now, you know, like I'm a full-time college student, all this kind of stuff. I'm just always on the move, and then now I can just carry this around with me all day. And if I have a half an hour in between class because one got out early, I would just go to the piano room, pull it out, and do that. You know, so I planned like the drum beats. There's a song I'm writing, and I was able to, you know, figure out the drum beats for all the different parts just on this thing, and then now all I do is go home, put it into a computer, and then figure out whether I want to use that or use MIDI or something to make the actual beats. So
that sounds handy.
It's very handy, very inspiring, and a very cool tool to have. So
I don't have anything that I can haul around like that, but that's such a I mean, I guess I have I talk ideas into my phone. But it's, you know, what I do here is the majority of what I do. So it's like music here at the office, all my music gear's here, and then, you know, the podcast. But I have a few times been down the street at the Continental Room with friends, and they're like, man, we should do a podcast. And I'm like, let's go. Like, let's go right now. Like, I'm down the street. And I've done it once or twice, and it's the best thing to be able to just, like, have what you do just on hand. You know, I mean, it's not on hand, but down the street it's pretty
accessible. Yeah, exactly.
And it's funny because both times I've had podcasts like that, like my friends go deep on like their personal traumas and stuff, and it's like, man, that was a good podcast. Do you want me to post that? And they're like, yeah, fuck it. So it's nice.
Late. It's after a show. You know, everyone's like all and I can make some good stuff.
But it's really fun doing this, but I've found that if I just knock them out like back to back, the podcasts, that I feel less inspired, and I don't have like the energy to talk to the people like at the full capacity that I would have if it was just people I find interesting, like yourself.
Yeah, you know, about just leaving breathing room and kind of processing and recharging and all that kind of stuff.
Do you have other siblings?
Yeah, I have a younger brother. He does. He's a great artist. He does. He's kind of like the only other member of the collective, if you will, creatively, at least at the moment. And he does the artwork. So if you go to newtonsdarkroom.com/green, I think he has three watercolor paintings that are scenes depicting some of the songs that I did at my debut show and that kind of thing.
Cool. So, man, I love stuff like that where it's like you have a song and then there's like an image to go along with it, or like, you know, some kind of, you know how like bands do like album visualizers? Have you ever seen that?
Yeah, oh yeah.
MGMT did one for their self-titled third album. And I was like, I just watched the whole thing, and to watch this moving, I mean, it's basically a music video, but it like spans, you know, the whole album. And to see something approved by the musicians
like
to represent what the music kind of is so interesting to me. It's like a deeper look into just, you know, an already beautiful gift to the world, you know, their music to me. And it's like, so I get their music, and now I get to see like another aspect of it, art, you know, physical
another
art,
perspective kind of thing,
or visual art instead of audible art.
So I love that as well. I did I actually for the first show I printed out programs, and so
that's cool,
because I organized my music, most of my music into morceaux, which are these short like literary pieces kind of thing. So they're groups of like 3 or 4 songs that basically tell a story. So you know, the first morceau, which is the one that I have recorded, is coming out on June 22nd, is kind of about this fictional city where all of like the artists and creatives and that kind of thing have to live on this island off the city, and that's the only place that you can create stuff. And then there's kind of this band that's, you know, on the mainland that wants to get to this island because they can't play their stuff there, you know. So that's kind of that story. And my second one was like this sailor searching for his mom and kind of this like supernatural kind of thing, you know. And so I have these kind of things.
I want to hear that one.
Oh yeah, it's good. I'm excited for that. You know, third one was like more you know, more realistic, where it's somebody after a relationship, and it literally just details the relationship ending and then the guy driving home, you know, and it kind of goes into some of those snapshots, and they're just organized into these. There's spoken bits in between, and then I was able to give people the program with the song titles, a basic summary of the plot, and then, you know, the artwork, just to be like, you know, look, this is kind of give you the basic idea and that kind of thing to kind of follow along.
That probably makes it easier for people to connect with it, you know, as well. Instead of just coming at it blank, they're like, you know, it's like when you see a preview for a movie. You're like, oh, so this is kind of what it's going to be about.
And especially with music, like my stuff isn't, you know, the music isn't complex narratively. You know, in fact, it's rather simple. It's, you know, guy problem solves a problem. You know, there's no like return. There's no, you know, there's no real hero's journey or anything like that. It's just kind of these basic little arcs. And so, you know, there's no spoilers knowing that. It's just, look, know it, then you can digest it. And then I don't have to start off the show being like, this is what this is about. Here's the first thing. You know, I can start off with a song and then go into a spoken bit part, because it's about the music. It's not about me talking to people.
What's the man? What does that remind me of? the Gorillaz song where it's just the guy talking.
The monkey's head one, right?
Yeah, monkey's head. One. That one's
fire coming out of a monkey's head. I
think. One of the guys that's coming by after this podcast to play music. He did that in high school. He played guitar, and his friend just awesome. Like, you know, talked the narrative part of it. And then his friend got on the bass, boom, boom, boom. Just like, you know,
so cool.
It was super. I mean, I didn't see it, but just hearing about it, I was like, man, that's amazing. And I love. I mean, I don't know if that's more exactly what your stuff is like. I got to see your stuff. You know what I mean? Like, actually, I want to see it. Perform. You guys have performed it?
I performed the 3 more shows on back in February, and that was my debut show. That's the only time that I've performed it so far. And then this Friday on June 8th, I'm playing at Rebel Bite, and I'm going to be playing that same set.
Cool.
And then on the 22nd, I'm hosting a backyard concert down at my place with 3 other bands, and I'll be debuting one whole new morceau, which is like, I think that one's going to be like 4 songs. One of them's kind of divided into. But
is morceau a classical term?
Yeah, it's like I think it's like French or something.
Oh, okay.
I haven't seen it used in any like professional setting or like concrete classification, right? Like a symphony is like these movements and like this things and that kind of thing. And that's part of the reason why I like it, is because it's just this general thing for a short literary piece. And I found that and I was like, this is exactly it. This is the word I was like, because I was like workshopping all these different words. Like, what do I call these? My friend was helping, and then I found that, and I was like, okay, this is perfect.
Right, you're like, it's more than just a scene. It's you want to call it something.
Yeah.
better.
And
It's
so
a
it's
cool-
cool. Yeah.
yeah.
And then it kind of, I love that because it contextualizes the music as well,
Mhm.
and it kind of makes it where, I'm a huge album listener. I love, you start an album, you finish an
Me
album
too.
kind of thing. And so it kind of forces people to do that a little bit, but it's
Mhm.
also not asking a lot of them because this isn't an hour of your time. This is,
Mhm.
15 minutes of your time.
Sure.
Much more digestible kind of thing.
Well, Rebel Bite, and then you're gonna do a backyard thing. You gotta hit me up for those. I wanna
Yeah,
go.
for sure. And then, and then on,
Rebel Bite's Long Beach, right?
yeah.
Are you Long Beach native?
My dad grew up in Lakewood, and
Okay.
then I grew up in the mountains, so I grew up in Wrightwood for a while, and then my family's up in Big Bear right now. But then I moved back down to to Lakewood for school and that kind of thing. So right now I'm living with a friend of mine, but
Cool.
my family kind of has ties down there, and I've always had friends down in the area for various different reasons.
Got it.
So
Cool.
yeah.
So what's you said you're like an album listener.
Yeah.
What's like one that is like the album for you?
Right now, To Pimp a Butterfly, 100%.
What is it?
To Pimp a Butterfly by Kendrick Lamar.
Oh yeah.
I think that is one of the most incredible albums that has been created, like, in recent past at all. I think it's just so incredibly dense.
Mhm.
There's so much going on, narratively as well as, and it works so well as an album too, because I think that there's music that works well as singles or
Right.
as this, or, there's albums I can throw on and just shuffle, like, I don't know if you've heard of the band Rainbow Kitten Surprise.
Mm-mm.
Their second album, RKS, is one of those albums I feel like I can just throw on shuffle and be fine.
Right.
But then their third album, the one that just came out, that's one of those. It's like, okay, you got to start at the beginning, you got to end at the beginning, because it's a very cohesive kind of
Right.
thing. So yeah, To Pimp a Butterfly is a great one. I think Sleep Well Beast is another one of those that I just think is an incredible album and really takes you on a journey. And then How to Friend Love Free Fall by Rainbow Kitten Surprise. That's the one that just came out, and that's another really good kind of cohesive album.
Nice. Cool.
Yeah,
I love
there's so
albums
much
like
good
that.
stuff
I mean,
out there.
I definitely get what you mean, where it's like, I feel like a lot of modern music is made to be singles more than an album thing. And when I find a piece of work that's just this amazing, front to back album, I think those are usually when they're my favorite bands.
Yeah.
Like Radiohead's done that for me.
Oh yeah,
MGMT
yeah.
does that for me on
Well, I think especially
3
more
of their
recently,
albums.
yeah, because their first album was more of kind of like
they
poppy, like want to get it out there kind of stuff.
Yeah, they had 3 songs that the record label wanted them to put on.
Yeah,
And then, but it's funny if you like listen to those songs and then you listen to like Weekend Warrior or Weekend Wars, or like Of Moons, Birds, and Monsters.
Yeah.
It's like this psychedelic journey thing
Yeah.
that's so unlike the pop
yeah,
stuff.
because I was watching a little like just YouTube documentary on those guys,
Uh-huh.
and like the start where like they would just do these like crazy. I mean, they were like, let's make the poppiest stuff we can. It's like a
Mhm.
joke almost, and everyone's like, no, this is
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
And then they kind of got trapped making that stuff,
Yeah.
but then in their second album, they're like, nope, we're gonna make psychedelic kind of
Right.
stuff. And then
Yeah.
I haven't listened to Little Dark Age, but from what I understand, that's kind of a compromise between the two, where it's like, hey, we're kind of like, making it a little bit more listenable to commercial audiences, but
That's-
keeping
That's how it's been
substance.
perceived. But I've heard them talk about it, and they're like, "Well, we're just making what we want to make."
Yeah, and I
but
think
it
that's so
definitely is
important.
more like it is easier to digest.
Yeah, I guess
There
people
were-
go on different things. Sometimes you want
Right.
to make something that's like garbage. Like I was sitting on the garage the other day. I had 2 tape loops going, like
Mhm.
feeding into each other, and I just like
Yeah.
had a melodic. It was garbage. It was like
Yeah, but it
unlistenable
was
stuff,
great for you.
but it was so much fun
Yeah.
to make. So it's like, look, if you have fun making it, if you enjoy it, that's awesome.
Right.
And then if you want to make something, it's like, okay, I also enjoy this stuff, but this
Mhm.
is meant to be listened to. Then that's kind of,
Do you ever listen to Ween?
I actually don't think I've even heard of them.
You would like Ween. They put a bunch of art together, and
Yeah.
like they made a cowboy album or like a country album, and these are like basically MGMT is inspired by a lot of Ween stuff.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
they can be weird and
Yeah.
silly, Ween, but then they made this country album and it sold tons of records. Like they're
That's
just
awesome.
they just
That's
picked
really
a
cool.
theme
Yeah.
and they're like, I don't even listen to country. And then they have this other song on another album called like Waving My Dick in the Wind.
Yeah.
And they just can do
Yeah.
whatever they want.
No, I think that's such a big thing. I feel like now more than ever, especially with the internet and how much we're exposed to and just how much crazy stuff there is out there, is like people like all kinds of music.
Right.
You're no longer like the metalhead, you're no longer the hip hop guy,
Right.
you're no longer the indie rock guy. It's like there's just so much and there's so much good music. It's like, look, enjoy it all, and make it all, because you're going to find something else that piques your interest and you're going to want to make something like that. And, that's where you get those kind of musical style changes. And
I
go
think
for it.
The internet has really brought a bunch of different styles of music
Yeah.
together that maybe in the past people were like, that shouldn't go together. And it's like, well, somebody figured out that putting your French fries in an In-N-Out shake was a good idea.
Yeah.
And so,
and that's all music has ever been is, hey, you shouldn't do that. Okay, I'm going to do it anyways.
Yeah.
And then it's music history.
Yeah, music history, yeah. So, like, I went to see King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard
nice. Yeah.
the other day, Thursday at the Palladium.
Nice.
And I took my uncle and my friend Mike from this band Iris and my friend Art. Mm-hmm. And my uncle is, when he goes to concerts, it's more like heavy metal type stuff,
Yeah.
And man, he had such a good time, and he was looking around, and there are a few things he pointed out, and he was like, there's a lot of metal in this music, but there's a lot of like folk in this music, a lot of Eastern sounds, a lot, like a whole wide array. And then at the same time he was like, but everybody's so nice here, your crowd is so nice. And I'm like, what do you mean? And he goes, well, everybody's like sweaty and angry at the metal shows. I'm like, yeah, I guess. But, and then he pointed out that, like, there were more girls. And I'm like,
really?
I think a lot of, like, King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard's fans, it's pretty, like, 50-50.
Yeah.
With, like, types of people.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, that's like.
But I think because of the internet, that's happening more.
Yeah. And that's like I feel like the tagline of our generation is just, we don't care about lines anymore.
Right.
It's no longer like, oh, well, like, guys like this music and girls like this music, or like, even if you're not thinking it that way, just kind of that like societal stuff. There's just so much blending, so much people, coming in and just enjoying the stuff that they enjoy. It's like, if you enjoy it, awesome. It could be crap music, it could be objectively bad music, but if you like it, then that is awesome and important to you, and you do that. And I feel like kind of as a society, we're getting to a point where that is more generally accepted.
Right. And it's even like subconscious things. Like growing up, I never listened to any like female musicians.
Yeah.
I just didn't.
Yeah.
And now I'd say it's half of what I listen to is female musicians. And then most of my favorite are.
Yeah.
And maybe it's because I didn't listen to so much of it growing up. And now I'm like finally like, oh shit, here's this other voice that I didn't know existed.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I also feel like there's a perspective that I wasn't getting from male-fronted music.
Yeah.
And honestly, I don't give a shit what kind of fucking genitals you have when you make music.
Yeah.
I don't think that matters. But I do think that there are some things specific to females that I just was not aware of. That then listening through music, I'm like, oh shit, this is a completely new experience for me.
It's all just about different perspectives.
Right.
Music is how people communicate, and that's why it's so important to listen to, the people who grew up on the streets, the trust fund babies, the people who, men, women, people of all different kinds. Just get out there, listen to stuff, and you're just gonna be all the better for it.
Right. I know a band that they're basically trust fund babies.
Yeah.
But the thing is, they're out there playing shows every night. Yeah. And like, they could just be sitting on their asses and not doing anything. So like, why give them shit just because they're trust fund babies? Like, they're making music. They're going out there and doing it. Yeah. They have thoughts and feelings and they want to express it. And so they have a cushion behind them. Like, doesn't mean the music's not good. Yeah. Doesn't make it any better either, but I think it definitely gives a different perspective.
Yeah. It's just, there's so many different ways.
Yeah, I know.
There's so many different ways that music can be created, digested, performed, listened to. It's crazy. Yeah. It's good environment.
I like it when there's like a band out there that has such a wacky idea. Like, oh man, Spare Parts for Broken Hearts were talking about this band that they saw in Austin, Texas, and it was like some like Bob's Burger Barn or something like that. It's something like that, but they like go up there and they like douse themselves in blue paint and then like
the Blue Man.
No, that's what I said. The Blue Man Group, and he brought it up and he's like, oh yeah, they do that too, but like they do it on stage. So they start like without any paint and then do it, and it's this performance art piece thing. But the guys are actually really fucking good at playing their music too.
And I love. I mean, because there's just so much. I mean, like. Because you see that on like the large scale, right? Like I went to a 21 Pilots concert a couple years ago, that concert was insane. You know, I mean,
Mhm.
like the guy literally had like this giant mouse ball kind of thing that he's rolling around on the
Mhm.
audience, like as he's like, it's crazy. And that's like, you know, I mean, that was pop stuff that was in the mainstream. That was all this kind of stuff.
Mhm.
And then you have, you know, I mean, like I don't know, like the Elephant Six recording company, you know, whenever they would go out and play shows in the 90s, and it's
Mhm.
just this ragtag guy, you know, it's just, you don't know what instruments they're going to have. They just kind of bring whatever they have and whoever's available and like play
Yeah.
this music. And then you're like, oh, this is also cool. And, you know, you hear about like, you know, Arcade Fire's early days where they'd be like, okay, we're going to serve apple juice at this show because that's the feeling that we want to go for. And it's like,
Mm.
okay, you do that. That's awesome. It's like you create the environment that you want
Yeah.
people to enjoy your kind of stuff in. And
There's a lot of that, and I have to like stop myself a lot of the times because I'm like, you know, initially when you said the Arcade Fire thing and then the
Yeah.
apple juice thing, I'm thinking that's dumb, and then the artist in me goes, dude, let them do what they want, like
Yeah, and
let
it's like-
but you know, my first reaction to a lot of things is like if it's a gimmick sort of thing, I kind of like I get held back by it, but then
yeah.
and then immediately after I go, all right, dude, who the fuck are you? Like, let them do their art. You know
Yeah,
what I
and
mean?
it's just, you know, I mean, it does different things for different people.
Right.
You know, I mean, sometimes it's like you want something that's really high concept. You want people to paint themselves on stage. That is
Sure.
what you came to pay
Sure,
for and to
yeah.
enjoy that.
Yep.
And then other times you want the nuance of it, or the things that aren't as, you know, flashy, like apple juice, where,
Mhm.
you know, sure, it's like fucking apple juice,
Yeah.
but then you drink it and you like, you know, you feel like a kid again. It feels like,
Yeah.
you know, it's homely, it's
Yeah.
communicative. You know, they have like apple trees going around, and all of a sudden these subtle little changes that they add
Mhm.
are suddenly creating this environment to, you know, digest this music kind of in a certain way without being like, this is what we're doing. Check out this gimmick. Look at this thing that
Right,
we're doing.
right.
You know?
And I think the way we experience anything, like, say you and I were gonna go to a show later tonight, right? Like, depending on what we ate, what we drank, who we saw,
Yeah.
what our eyes processed throughout the day,
Yeah.
could definitely affect how we're gonna process the show later tonight.
Yeah.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
100%.
And so if you like, you know, you have a show where everybody's wearing red, you have to wear red to get in. And, you know, it's like that experience is going to
Yeah.
make your mind process things in a different
Yeah.
way. That's how the brain works.
Yeah. That's
Just the way it goes.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons why I printed out programs for my show, is because I wanted people to be able to hold on to this and to feel like they're like going to a theater or an opera or something, to get this
Mhm.
feeling that, look, there's more to this than just the music. This is
Right.
something that you can
It's a
sit and watch and
experience.
engage, and yeah, exactly, and like there's a narrative to it and all
Mhm.
that kind of stuff. Because
Where did
just holding a paper.
Where did you perform it at?
Cafe Sevilla. Yeah, it was
Cafe
part
Sevilla.
of their open mic program. So they every Tuesday night they have an open mic, and then they bring on one featured artist as well,
Mhm.
who plays like a 45-minute set. And so, you know, you're kind of bookended by open mic stuff, but then you get to go up there and perform, you know, this awesome stuff. And it's really, really cool environment, really professional, awesome place. So I would definitely suggest that too.
Cool. And where is that?
Down in downtown Long Beach.
Downtown Long Beach.
Yeah.
Okay. Man, there's so much cool stuff going on in Long Beach.
Yeah, there's a lot of good stuff going on down there.
Sarah from Spare Parts for Broken Hearts,
Uh-huh.
she was talking about how she made the conscious decision to not play in Long Beach as much
Oh, really?
because she felt like it was trapping her in a way.
Yeah.
But I mean, I'm sure it depends on the artist. You know what I
Well,
mean?
yeah,
How you feel about it. But
Yeah.
I was thinking about that. And I was like, yeah, you know, if you only, because Long Beach is such a cool place and has so much going on,
Yeah.
it could be really easy to only want to play there.
And
You
you
know what I
can't,
mean?
and it would be so easy to play there, only there, because there's
Mhm.
just so many different opportunities to play. But
Mhm.
you know, if you want to expand, if you want to grow as a band, if you want to expand your fan base and that kind of thing, you
Mm-hmm.
know, you got to come up to 4th Street and Vine. You got to come up to the Continental Room. You got to, you
Right.
know, drive out to Inland Empire. You know, there's a lot of great stuff going on out there.
Yeah.
Big Bear. You know,
It's crazy.
there's scenes that are close by
Mhm.
that you're not losing anything from going out and playing them. So, you know, go out and play them if you can. You know,
Right.
kind of get your fingers in different areas.
Exactly. I still think that Long Beach is such an amazing area,
Yeah,
though.
I'd
It's
agree.
it's
I would
it's a
definitely
breeding
agree.
ground for a lot of really cool art.
Yeah.
There doesn't seem to be much of to me, much of a scene in the Fullerton area. But
Yeah.
it might happen. Who knows? But so what do you have next for Newton's Darkroom? What's the thing that you're working on now?
Yeah,
because
so-
I feel like you're always going to be working on something.
Always, yeah. I have so I have the live shows coming up soon, which are going to be kind of their own thing and going to be hopefully great.
Mm-hmm.
Then I have on June 22nd, the first More So is being released.
Okay.
And so that's 4 songs. It's the one about like the city and the island and all that kind of stuff.
Cool.
And I'm going over to my mixer's house tonight. Chris Moore is actually doing the mixing for that. So we're going to kind of finalize the last song. 3 of them already done. Last one finishing up.
You explained Chris. You mentioned Chris Moore to me earlier.
Oh yeah, sorry. Yeah.
But who is he?
He is he's a friend of mine. He does audio work for a bunch of different things. Right now he's working on the Magus Elgar podcast, which just kind of released on Bandcamp. They're doing like I don't know exactly how long they're spacing it, but they're sparsing out the episodes so you can go pre-order that and then get the rest of the stuff.
Oh, nice.
And that's like a really intense audio drama, really cool, really fun podcast.
What's it called again?
Magus Elgar, Magus Elgar, I believe. Yeah, and you can find them on Instagram and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
Yeah, good stuff. And then he also does just different commercial work and and just kind of general audio stuff. So he's helping me out with that right now. So that's releasing on the 22nd. And then on the 29th, I have 2 sister EPs releasing. And these are more, more low key. This isn't, Chris didn't mix them or anything. This is all just me kind of pretending like I know what I'm doing. But I basically took the music from the podcast episodes that we have up now and kind of structured them a little bit more, added some different layers, and then added vocals and that kind of thing. And that's being released. So these 2 albums, they're going under the name Lights Off Home Control, but they'll be kind of released under the Newton's Darkroom banner. You can find all this music under the same place. And then that stuff. So I think that's like an additional like 10 or 12 songs divided up between 2 EPs, kind of more chill, more experimental stuff too. So
you just have no free time because you seem to be doing so much stuff.
The thing is that this is my free time, so it's like you have work, you have music, and then whenever I sit down and want to blow off steam, like this is what I'm doing. So, and right now that's awesome. Like it's my honeymoon phase, it's like I'm doing this in my free time. I can make that.
Yeah.
And then I had a friend was in town, and she does kind of like a coffee shop, like indie ukulele kind of stuff. And we recorded some stuff while she was in town. And so over the summer and over the next couple of weeks, I'm going to be, adding some different stuff to that, adding my own vocals. And then that's going to be released, coming off of, sometime in the fall as another EP. And then I'm also my goal is I work at a summer camp, and my goal is to record a song a week while I'm up at the summer camp and to invite the other staff members and that kind of thing to come in and contribute because they play, tuba, trombone, saxophone, guitar, bass, drum, so just kind of like make it a more collaborative thing. And so hopefully that goes well as well. And then on top of the podcast stuff, like I said, I'm writing one that I'm hoping to have released by the end of the year. And then I have one more that's going to be a little bit more production heavy that I'm working on writing right now. And
so when you say you're writing a podcast, because for me, and I think maybe a lot of other listeners, they're like, what do you mean writing a podcast? You're not just talking? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yours are going to be more theme oriented with an actual storyline? Is that what they're going to be?
There's this whole other world of podcasting that gets overlooked a lot, and not just by the general populace, but by professional organizations where they write their best of the year podcast thing. And it's kind of, it's fiction podcasts, it's audio dramas.
Sure.
It's, in the style that we've had since the conception of radio, just continuing forward. And they just tend to get the short end of the stick a lot. And it's still popular and it's still there. It's still, very financially, sustainable and that kind of thing. A big part of the podcasting community.
Why do you think it gets overlooked? I mean, I would have to agree because I don't see it as something people talk about very often. But why do you think that happens?
I feel like there's a couple different reasons. I feel like at its start, podcasting was this 2 people talking to each other, more conversational kind of thing. It also requires a lot more work. You're
for sure.
Yeah, you're creating these things and you're releasing. If let's say you do 10 episodes at a half an hour each, that's nothing compared to an hour twice a week kind of thing, so whenever you're pumping out stuff like this, I mean, it's a similar thing that we see with YouTube right now, right? Where, back in the day you used to see all kinds of sketches, animated stuff, short films, and then now it's just let's plays, longer stuff taken from TV, because that is much easier to make more of. And so I think that's part of it.
Sure.
And because there's so much of it out there and because of the start and that kind of thing, people don't know that there's kind of this whole other world. And again, it's also on the media because these things are there and they're very present and they're very good. But a lot of people who review podcasts aren't even addressing this stuff whenever they pull in more listeners than half the stuff they're reviewing kind of thing.
That's weird.
So it's we're in the Wild West of podcasting right now, where it's in the public's attention and people are more aware of it than they used to be. But, I mean, even analytics can be crazy sometimes, where iTunes is like just now implementing analytics and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So there's a lot to be figured out and to kind of standardize. And I
Sure.
think kind of the audio dramas are a part of that. But that's always been my love in podcasting from the get go. That's
Audio
what I listen
dramas.
to, and that's what I love. I listen to my fair share of conversational stuff, but I love
Sure.
stuff that's much more produced. You know, even if it's nonfiction, the stuff
Sure.
that is curated, the stuff that is, you know, has sound design, that has
Mhm.
music to it, and audio dramas are a big part of that. So my stuff has always fallen into that. My last podcast was very much that. It was an hour of an anthology of stories, kind of thing.
Mhm.
The Newton's Dark Room Presents is the same thing. You know, it's one guy sitting and talking, but it is, you know, fully fleshed out stories. It is
Right.
all narrative stuff, and the stuff that I have going forward is very much in that same vein, where it's I am crafting stories. This is radio drama, you know?
Right. Man, that's so cool. And
Yeah.
it's even cooler to me because I know with just doing this podcast, which is pretty simple. I mean, I set it up here in what, like 20 minutes, you know?
Yeah.
And we got going, but to have anything that you've been describing, I'm like, I would be spending hours
And
on
you
like
do.
10 minutes.
Yeah, and you do. I think like, you know, Chris Moore, he spent like 4 hours on a single sound effect, maybe even more, you know, because he was just adding. Yeah, and that thing is like crazy professional levels of like they are creating a world, and it's incredible.
Mhm.
But you know, making a fiction podcast is much more attuned to making a film or a book or
Right.
even music,
That's how
where
I'm
it's like,
picturing
look,
it.
you want to make this good, you want it to have purpose, you want it to be crafted, you
Right.
know. You can sit down and talk with people just fine, but this is something that is, you know, much more polished, and it's
Mhm.
going to be shorter, and you're not going to be able to put it out as much and that kind
Right.
of thing. But you know,
It's going
as
to be
a standalone piece,
more dense.
Yeah,
you know,
exactly.
Which
It's going to
is
be much more dense,
which is really nice.
yeah,
And I know from making music that, like, you know, if every section of the song is cohesive
Yeah.
and it like goes together,
Yeah.
but then there's this like 5-second part that doesn't seem like it fits,
uh huh,
you're going to be working for days maybe on making that 5 seconds sound like it goes with the rest of the song, or
yeah,
deciding if you even need it and putting it somewhere else. And I imagine that, you know, having something that is more sound dense with, you know, audio dramas,
yeah.
that you're probably listening to it all the way through, what, like 40-50 times?
I should.
I should. Yeah.
Well, I feel like because I feel like it's a little, you know, obviously there's comparisons to music, but I feel like it is a little bit different because music is much more feel oriented. It's much more,
True.
you know, kind of abstract in its nature.
Sure.
And with this, I'm speaking words. I'm telling a story. You know, it's more like film or theater. You know, so there's kind of those.
You can lead easier. Is that what
Yeah,
you're saying?
exactly. And I think that crafting it is just a little bit different because you know where you want to go and you have
Mhm.
very concrete ways of getting there,
Got
kind
it.
of thing.
Yeah.
So a lot of that stuff I feel happens more in the writing of it than it does in the production of it. Because
Mm.
by the time you get to production, you've spent all this time writing it. You know where it needs to go. You know what feeling you want the music or the soundtrack or the sound design to have.
Right.
And especially whenever, you know, like my stuff right now is just me talking to Mike narrating, basically.
Mhm.
You know, you don't need to worry about the feel of the voice actors or this or that or Foley kind of stuff because I'm not trying to put you in the universe. I'm trying to tell you a story.
Right. Man,
Yeah.
there's so much to this. It's so
Yeah.
great.
Yeah.
I can see why you're extremely passionate about it,
Yeah.
because it's, you know, I don't have much to compare it to with what I do, but I know that if I'm writing a song and it doesn't, like, I'm just not feeling it, it just drops and never becomes anything.
Oh, I have so much of that too. I have.
do?
Yeah.
Yeah.
In fact, I was writing this thing. I wanted to write 6 episodes that were basically kind of modern folklore kind of stuff. So I wanted to feel very, you know, folky, very mythy, kind of somebody telling the story with minimal dialogue, but with dialogue there and that kind of
Uh-huh.
thing, and tying it into modern stuff. You know, so like power lines have like bees in them and that kind of thing because there was this farmer out on the edge of town who, you know, could grow the best flowers because he had the best bees, and there was this rich guy in town and wanted those, so he stole the land, but then the guy found out a way to get the bees to his thing and he made power lines, you know, like that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I was writing it and I had some of them I really liked, some of them I didn't as like. I think I was like 3 or 4 episodes and I think I was working on the 4th one. I was just
Mhm.
like, man, this isn't clicking for some reason.
Right.
And then I saw Avengers Affinity War, and that was the thing where I was like, that's what I'm missing. I need to take a step back. I need to, you know, keep that concept of kind of, you know, this, it ended up morphing more into like mythology than folklore.
Sure.
But kind of keeping that vibe of taking these old ways of telling stories and these old ways of processing the world as we know it, and
Mhm.
really bringing them into modern life with cities and televisions and screens and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
And so that was something that I had to rework. So I have these like 3 or 4 stories that are, you know, done. They haven't been edited, but they're fully crafted, sitting on my hard drive, you know, and who knows? Those
Yeah.
may, you know, I'm sure eventually I'll rebring them or, you know,
Yeah.
either do them as
Workshop
one
them
shots.
differently.
Yeah. Or like, repurpose them for kind of something else. But,
Mhm.
you know, but I have a graveyard. I have a couple other stories of things that I was like, this is something I'm going to do. I'm going to write this. I'm going to do it. And then I did it. And I was like, you know what? This isn't a thing. Not yet. You know, we'll revisit this.
I have a lot of stuff like that, especially like I've tried to be a pseudo writer a few times, you know, and I have little short pieces that are really good, I think, but then I tried to write, you know, you ever read Naked Lunch by William Burroughs?
No.
Do you know who William Burroughs is?
I recognize the name, but
William
I can't
Burroughs
place
is
anything.
just a crazy artist around the, like, if Jack Kerouac did like more heroin and more like acid or something, you know?
Yeah.
And he's just really strange. And I'm reading this book and I'm like, I don't even know what the fuck is going on right now, but these words are strung together in such a beautiful way.
Yeah.
So then I created this story, and it was like most things I do, autobiographical in a way.
Yeah.
And I'm creating these characters, and then I'm like, but how do I express like what I'm trying to do here? Or like, how do I like, I wanted to make it schizophrenic in a way, or like there's this other like voice in the head. And so then I was like, oh, I'll just italicize a whole paragraph, and that'll be like, I'm just going to make some kind of sick poetic like jargon that just like really goes off. And I looked back and I read it the other day and I was like, this is so great. What I realized is that I lost interest about halfway through as I'm reading it. I'm like, I lost the passion somewhere along the way as I was writing, and I was just trying to end it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That stuff happens
It is
all the time.
All the
to me.
time. And it is, at the end of the day, it's work. It's something that you have to work for. If you just go and you make stuff while you're passionate about it, you're never going to make stuff. You know, there's days where you're going to be like, oh, I don't want to write, but, you know, if I want to meet this deadline or if I want this thing to even happen, I just have to sit down and kind of power through it.
I love stuff like that.
Oh, yeah.
When I have deadlines, I feel like I work harder.
Yeah, 100%.
Because pressure, like, really pushes the creative juices for me.
My first show that I played with Newton's Dark Room, I scheduled that show whenever I did not have the music at all. Yeah. And like I was like, I think I had like I had like 15 minutes. I ended up scrapping all of that, but like 3 minutes of it, you know, because because I was just working. I was like, I can have 45 minutes by February. And so I called the guy and I was like, hey, do you have any shows around this time? And he's like, yeah, sure. And then I was just like, okay, I got to do it. You know, like right now it's been a while, you know, with finals and schools and all that kind of stuff. I haven't been able to touch that set since, since school got out last week.
Sure.
But right now, you know, I have that show on Friday. And so it's like, okay, look, I've got to practice this because if I want this to be good, like, you know, right now I'm rusty. You know, the show on the 22nd is forcing me to write an entire new morceau because I'm saying I am doing a new morceau at that show.
Right.
So that needs to be done. So that, you know, and all of that just really helps to keep the adrenaline going, keep the creative juices flowing.
Yeah, I need deadlines for sure if I'm going to get anything else done. And I want to touch back on what you said a little bit before about where, like in the morning and at night are like the best times to write. And dude, I cannot like, that rings so true with me. Like, and if the best times for me are in the morning. Like, and I love when I wake up early on a weekend or something, and I just start playing guitar. Yeah. And then I'm just like playing guitar, and you've got this like hazy dream state still. You know what I mean? And I'm not much into like, you know, what would you even call that? Spiritual mumbo jumbo stuff.
Yeah, spiritual mumbo jumbo.
I don't know what to call it, but like there's a part of me that also feels like the dream world is still stuck in my head a little bit.
Oh, and it is.
And it like makes it something that I would not have been able to do at noon after lunch.
And I mean that's you know, spiritual mumbo jumbo. It's science. Like, right. Whenever you're waking up, your brain is literally still asleep for a while. Your brain is still in that alpha wave. Your brain is still in that post dream, still waking up. You know, so that's why it is scientifically the best time to write, because you are physically in the best position.
I had no idea. I didn't know how to calculate what that was or what that state was.
Yeah, it's like it's going to bed, waking up. That is scientifically the best time to write because of what your brain is doing.
It feels like it for sure.
Because you're still in a dream.
When I was at my old apartment, one of my favorite things to do was to wake up early, and I would do what I would call poor man's speedball. Yeah. Do you know what a speedball is?
I feel like I should, but I don't.
It's horrible. It's horrible. Yeah. It's Coke and heroin. So it's like something that brings you up and something that brings you down at the same time. So I'd wake up early in the morning, I'd get my guitar out and like a notebook, and I would smoke a joint and have coffee. And it's like it's
the poor man's speedball.
Poor man's speedball. But I swear it was like my mind would just go psh, and most of the stuff that came out was so soul satisfying for me.
Yeah.
Might not have been good to anybody else, but holy shit, was that like great for me.
Yeah, that's how I feel about the two sister albums that I have coming out on the 29th. Is that I don't know if other people are gonna like that as much. I didn't spend as much time crafting it as I did the More So, but it was just me making stuff. I mean, I literally recorded the vocals on the built-in speaker on my laptop, because I want that.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and they're all processed and that kind of thing to give some really cool
I love
effects.
Stuff like that.
Yeah, but it's like, look, I am making this for me. It's like this is stuff that I want to have fun doing, and I'm going to put it out there because I have the resources, and if other people like it, that's awesome. And I want to create this rich world. Whenever people look at it, they go, "Whoa, look at all this stuff that he's done," kind of thing.
Right.
But and I want people to be able to delve into that, but I'm not making this for other people, you know. And I. This is probably really terrible to say, but I like enjoy listening to my own music, especially stuff since it's so far removed, since the vocals are all messed up and that kind of thing. Like I'll find myself just listening to it. I'm like, man, I'm just really enjoying this. Yeah. And I hope other people do too.
I totally understand that feeling. I think it's a pride in your art, and to actually get something out that was in your head is like the most satisfying itch to scratch. Yeah. And it seems vain to people that like don't like make music. They're like, what the fuck are you doing listening to your own music?
But it's so encouraging because you're like, okay, at least there's one person out there who likes that music.
Right.
And it's like,
and it's the person that you should care about the most.
Exactly. If I'm making stuff that I like, then that's awesome because
that's my thing. I have to stop myself when I find myself writing a song for someone. Like I'm writing what I think they want to hear. Yeah. And I'm like, no, I'm writing about this person. I'm not trying to explain it to them. I'm trying to explain it to myself, and it's about them. It's this weird. And
that's how you get the most nuanced stuff. That's how you get the, the more soulful kind of stuff. The reason why people listen to music, you don't listen to a song because you're like, I want this guy to explain his problem to me. It's like you find the artists that have your voice or the ones that you understand, and then they explain things to themselves, and you're there listening.
That's one of the number one reasons why I love MGMT. Yeah, because it's like they come out with a new album every 3-4 years. Yeah, and they don't do anything for that whole time. I mean, they're just living their lives. Yeah, and then when that album comes out, I'm listening to it. I'm like, why is this exactly where I'm at in my life right now? Yeah. Like, why does this out? What the fuck, dude? Are they watching me? It's some kind of, I don't know. There's a lot of glitches that happen in my life, and I'm like, this is suspicious. Why is this album so good for me right now? Yeah. Yeah. Oh man.
There's a lot of good stuff.
So remind me of the dates again.
Yeah. June 8th. June 8th. We go on at 8:45, and I think there's someone before.
Oh man, that is this
Friday. Wow. Yeah. Yeah. A week from 2 days ago. June 8th at Rebel Bite, and then June 22nd at my place. So you can DM me for info on that. If you follow Newton's Dark Room on Instagram, and then direct message me on there. You can email curator@newtonsdarkroom.com. Just get in touch, and we can kind of see. Because I also just want to, I'm buying food for everyone. It's kind of yeah. I mean, I'm charging like $5.
Wonderful host,
yeah. It's kind of like drawing the line between like I want to feed people, but I'm also poor, so just kind of chip in $5, and then that'll go to some of the other artists as well, and that kind of thing to just kind of try to make this a good professional time and that kind of thing. So
that's awesome.
Yeah,
you are only 20.
Only 20.
Man, you have a really awesome drive.
Yeah, that's all I got.
That's all you got.
I don't know what I'm doing, but if I make stuff, if I put it out there, learn along the way. Yeah, that's half the battle.
That's the best way to learn.
Yeah, because the people who know things, I don't know anything about music theory. I do not know. I am such a bad musician. Mm-hmm. Like
me too.
I can barely play and sing at the same time. Like if it's 4 on the floor, I can do it. But otherwise, like I'm practicing, I'm working on it. But like I don't know chords. I don't know anything. But I have these tools and I'm making it. And I could sit there and judge myself for like, well, I made this with a loop station, and so it gets a little bit repetitive or this. Or I could just try to solve that, or try to just put it out there, because so many people who know what they're doing get caught up on just distributing or recording or making it perfect that they never get anywhere. So put it out there. I'm sure I'll get to a point in my life where I know where I'm doing more, or where I want to sit down and make a full-length album that is much more nuanced or much more constructed. You know, there might be a period where I don't release anything for a year and then put out something really good.
Right.
But that's not where I'm at right now.
Right.
It's like I want to make stuff, I want to get it out there, and I want to learn along the way.
Yeah.
Because I don't know anything.
It's
right now.
it's crazy that the brain just picks up things and you're learning things even when you don't think you are.
Yeah.
You know, like me and my brother, we were talking about the Stranger Things intro. And he was like, "Yeah, it's cool. I understand that it's like '80s, you know, synths,
so
and it's so good.
It's really good."
And he was like, "Yeah, I just, you know, somebody redid it with like modern synths, and he's like, it's so huge." And I'm like, "Yeah, but they're going with the theme of, you know, it's the '80s."
Yeah, there's a feel to everything. There's
Right.
something that you can't latch onto, and that's why people record on, you know, cassettes. That's why what's his face shoots on actual film, you know,
Mhm.
because even if it gets processed digitally and the finished, you know, thing feels
Yeah.
like it might be digital, even just in the process of holding something different, you are going to shoot a different film than if you have a digital key.
Exactly. I have a bunch of different cameras, and they're all for that same reason.
Yeah.
Each one gives me something different.
Yeah.
But so my brother and I, we were talking about the Stranger Things intro, and I had an acoustic guitar, and I was just kind of like just playing as we were talking, you know, and then like a minute went by, and then I'm just saying something to him, and then I realized I'm playing the intro.
Nice.
And I'd never played that before.
Yeah.
And my brother looks at me and he's like, and I was like, dude, I just had my fingers there. It just like happened.
Yeah.
And then I kind of like workshopped and I figured out where it was. But that kind of stuff, your brain is learning even when you don't fucking think it is. Like when you're just like, what you surround yourself with is gonna affect your art.
Yeah. And it's gonna absorb and it's all crazy. And that's why I love having just so many different tools at your disposal. Because you're gonna write different stuff with different tools. You know, it's like if I'm sitting in my bed at night with an OP1, like that's gonna give me a much different song than me standing in my garage with a bass on my keyboard, which is gonna give me a different song than working on Ableton. You know, and it's just kind of like using those.
Depending on which room I'm in here,
Yeah.
with my guitar,
Yeah.
I'll write it like a different way, and I know the
100%.
feeling that each room gives.
And the people that you're with, and the stuff you've been listening to, you know, it's just it's really fun to cultivate that. You know, it's one thing to like live your life and then write music. It's another thing to be like, okay, I am writing something that reminds me of this music, but I'm not going to listen to that music at all.
Right.
I'm going to only listen to this stuff, and we're going to see what kind of comes out, and I'm going to write it in this room. I have this project. That I really want to do, and I don't know when it's going to happen. I have to get more familiar with like specifically the OP1 to do this, but I want to write an album that I only record, write, and everything in public bathrooms. So you find a public bathroom, you find somewhere that, you know, because like I'm like an extroverted introvert, you know, like I really recharge on my own, but I'm very personable and I love going out and doing things.
Yeah.
But I always find myself like slinking away to the bathroom for like 5-10 minutes just to kind of recharge and kind of be like, okay, look at how quiet it is in here. And there's so many different reasons why I do that I just started writing them down anytime I was in like the bathroom for a non-bathroom reason, just being like, okay, this is why I'm here, this is what I'm feeling. And then I just want to go in and kind of like try to create that in a space. And so
that's a
so
cool
it's
idea,
like
man.
It's setting up the cultivation. I mean, LCD Sound System, they made their first album in, you know, a studio, and he was like, this sounds too woody. And for his next album, he covered his entire studio in tinfoil and he made The Sound of Silver. And like it feels so much different because like everything you put into your body, musically, visually, everything is going to come out in one way. And whenever you can kind of use that as its own tool and its own instrument to kind of like shape the sound, you get some really cool stuff.
That stuff, you know, from the outside point of view seems so silly, but it really does affect the music, you know?
Yeah.
Like MGMT, my favorite album that they ever wrote, Congratulations.
Yeah.
It's, you know, they got, it was either Big Sur or Malibu, I forget where, but, you know, they were like around ocean and trees, you know?
Yeah.
You know, I think it was Big Sur. But they went out there for 3 months, recorded it, and all they did was, you know, be in nature, live with the band, drink shroom tea, and like surf and go hiking. Yeah. And the album has this like flowing,
it's
just
so crazy.
And it totally makes a difference.
Yeah. And that's what I love about that stuff too, is because you, like, for example, let's look at like vinyl records, right? That idea of listening to it is warmer on vinyl. That has been scientifically debunked. You know, it's like, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But even just the process of putting a record on the thing and watching it spin and knowing that you're holding something concrete adds something different to the music.
That's what it is. Yeah.
Even if you record out in the wilderness and all this kind of stuff, or if you record on analog tapes, by the time that gets processed, especially in like mainstream stuff, nobody is going to be able to tell the difference. But even if they know that you recorded on analog tape, then they're going to listen to it differently than they would normally. So it's like that process and even the way that you push stuff. I love music, but I'm not a big musical guy. And even my audio professor this last semester was talking about how music is not a tangible thing. It's vibrations in the air. What we sell is all the packaging around it, and that's what I love. I love the recording of it, the process of recording, the process of saying this is the album cover, the process of saying this is how I'm distributing it, this is our band name, this is the lyric sheet, like all of that stuff is going to add to it. And so for me, like that's just as much of music. Some people are like they're only about the music and they're music purists and they make their stuff and they record and they put out. And then some people are like rock star image dudes who love that image kind of stuff. And that's always been my thing is I love everything around the music, and the music is good too and it should be good, but there's so much more that you can do to it to actually affect people's listenings that people take for granted a lot of the time.
I totally think about that all the time, and I wonder, would I like MGMT as much if I never saw pictures of them, if I never saw an album cover that they approved, if I never knew the story about them doing shrooms and Big Sur or whatever? Would I like them as much? And the honest answer is probably no. Yeah. There's something visually that connects me with them. There's something about their stories that connects me with them. And, it's kind of a bummer. I would like to be just like, oh, this music's great, which it is. Yeah. But even just knowing what they named the song changes how I, like, of Moons, Birds, and Monsters. Yeah. That, I don't know why that title is so fucking cool to me, but it makes the song better for me, even subconsciously. And it's weird in a way. The brain's really funny, but I also really enjoy it. Yeah. Like, really enjoy that kind of stuff.
Yeah, it's so important. It puts a certain image in your mind, and then you listen to it, and you're picturing that image, and it just...
So I gotta ask you. Yes. What's up with the Nerf guns in your car?
Oh. My college, with my theater group, we were all in... I think this was Animal Farm. We were doing Animal Farm, and we scheduled a game of Assassins. So everyone bought Nerf guns and hunted people down. I waited for like 3 hours outside of this guy's house in the middle of the night. And then, my God. He got home, and I came out and like hit him with a Nerf gun.
That's hilarious.
Crazy stuff. Yeah, it was pretty. I got involved in a car chase where somebody.
I got involved in a car chase.
2 people were following me as I exited the school because the school was a safe ground, right? Yeah. So I'm getting in my car. 2 people get into the car, and I knew they were messing with me because I had intel. I knew who was my assassin, and these people are following me. And I'm like, why are they following me? Did I get wrong intel? Did they try? What's going on? Yeah. And so this is over in Costa Mesa. So the Canes by the 45. You can like pull in, and then it has this place to pull out if like you change your mind or something. But it's kind of like behind this like a power kind of container kind of thing. So I was like joking, like, yeah, I'm gonna go get some canes, and so I hop in the car, and they're following me, and I'm trying to lose them, and then I pull into the canes. I go into the drive-through. They park, and then I just pull out of this side thing. They can't see me because of the thing, and then I drive off. And I needed gas, but I like went down the freeway a little bit, and then pulled off and got gas. Yeah.
That sounds so fun.
Yeah, and then I found out like a year later that the person who was my assassin was in the car, and she was just lying face down, like in the back seat kind of thing. So, but that's why I have Nerf guns in my car to this day.
That's hilarious, dude. Yeah. Well, we're almost at an hour, or I think we might have passed it, but that's how it goes. It goes quick, man.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And it flies by. Before we sign off here, give us one musician people should be listening to.
Okay.
If you were to meet somebody and they were like, who should I listen to?
Okay, I definitely have some. I think I mentioned them earlier. Like Rainbow Kitten Surprise is a great indie band, but I'm not choosing them. I'm just giving them another shout out for a reminder. Yeah. The band that I'm going to pick is a small band up in Seattle, local band kind of thing. They're named Scarves. And they have 2 albums which you can find on like Spotify, Bandcamp, all that kind of stuff. And one of theirs, Empty Houses, is one of my all-time favorite albums. It's very indie rocky. The guy has a crazy good voice, and they do a lot of interesting things musically while keeping it simple. And they are a great thematic band. It kind of tells the story of, 2 people growing up in a small town kind of thing, and just kind of the shenanigans you get into. Crazy good stuff. Check out Scarves if you haven't seen them. Cool. Scarves with a V, like the plural. Yeah. Yeah, but I just want to make sure because grammar is weird.
Grammar is weird.
Yeah, so definitely check them out. They make some really good stuff.
Cool. Yeah. Well, thanks for coming on, dude. And yeah, of course. And I can't wait I'm gonna try to go see your thing on Friday. I'm gonna try to do that.
Good. Rebel Bite at 8:45.
8:45. Cool. Yeah. Well, thanks again.
Of course. Thanks for having me. Yeah.
right, that's about it for the 47th episode of the Psychic Wave podcast. Thanks again to Talon of Newton's Darkroom for coming on and sharing your creative juices with me and spilling your guts a little bit. It was great, man. I had a really good time, and you really do inspire me, and you made me think about a lot of things that I should be incorporating into my music and art that maybe I wasn't before. So yeah, thank you, man. You're doing something great. Don't stop. And if you want to follow me on Instagram, it's at The Psychic Wave. And if you want to follow my personal account, it's at Andrew Sanishyn. And Sanishyn is spelled SANYSHYN. Other than that, what am I doing? I don't know. I'm about to do that band practice that I was telling you about at the beginning of this podcast. And I'm going to drink a bunch of water, and I'm going to take care of myself a little bit better. Because I have not been making the best decisions, and I'm wondering what this podcast is going to be like when I get to episode 100. And who knows? Maybe this is the beginnings of my downfall, and it's going to just spiral to a horrible, horrible place. Maybe that's what episode 100 will be. Hello, welcome to my rock bottom. Hopefully not, though. Hopefully I start taking care of myself, and it becomes, hello, welcome to the new and improved Drew. Yeah. Anyway, thanks for listening to the podcast, and I'll see you on the next one, which is actually tomorrow, and I have Nani from Bundy, and I'm going to be talking to him about his podcast and how that first month went. I'm super excited for that. Haven't seen my friend in a while, and I miss him. So, check you then.